Jordan in the fire department.
The Mayor, the City Council, and staff of the City of Panama City Beach extend the sincerest appreciation to David Jordan for dedicated service and commitment to the City of Panama City Beach. 30 years. Congratulations, David. I know several stories about David too, but I think he knows as many on me. So, but he has been a very dedicated employee to the city. I've been right there with him through hurricanes and floods, and now this pandemic we're going through. And he's a very valuable part of our city, and I think he's too will be leaving us soon. And but congratulations, David. You have anything you'd like to say?
No, it's been a wonderful 30 years right now. I love the city, love my job, and just wish I could continue doing more, but it's time to move on and let the younger guys take over.
Congratulations, David.
Thank you.
Next, we have Bo Reeves from the street department.
The Mayor, the City Council, and staff of the City of Panama City Beach extend the sincerest appreciation to Bo Reeves for dedicated service, commitment to the City of Panama City Beach, also for 30 years. That's really quite an accomplishment to have 3 people today to make 30 years with the city, and I think that says a lot about the city and how well the employees feel comfortable with each other, and we're like a family here. And I also was fortunate to be here when Bo was hired and worked alongside of him through floods and hurricanes. And these guys in the street department, when you really got in a bind with the road washed out or a flooding houses, they also were very important. Each department is very important to the city at different times throughout their careers. So, but anyhow, Bo, congratulations, and he's also going to be leaving us here within a year or two, I think. He's in the drop program, so we'll be losing 3 of our senior staff people in the city, and really enjoyed working with you all these years. Bo, do you have anything you'd like to say? Congratulations. Thank you, guys.
Next, for 15 years of service, we're going to recognize Greg Andrews from the Utilities Department.
The Mayor, City Council, and staff of the City of Panama City Beach extend a sincere appreciation to Greg Andrews for dedicated service and commitment to the City of Panama City Beach. 15 years. Thank you. Thank you so much. Great employee, awesome softball player. Needs some lessons on the go-kart track, but other than that, we're good. Anything you'd like to say? No, I figured that. Well, there you go. There's that plaque right there.
Perfect.
Come on, Greg.
Debbie.
I was expecting 2 more people.
And while they're taking a photo, we have 2 other employees that also hit the 15-year mark. They couldn't be with us today. We have Corporal Joey Pettis from the Police Department and Buster Pate he works out at the pier. He's in the Parks and Recs Department. Next, we'll be recognizing 10 years of service. And starting out that group, we have Allison Marshall from the Police Department.
Allison, thank you very much for 10 years of service. I hope to see you around for another 10. This is to Allison Marshall for dedicated service and commitment to the city of Panama City Beach for 10 years.
Yes. We have Robert Williams from the Wastewater Department. Lift Station Group.
Robert. I'll give it to you. All right, Mayor, City Council, and staff of Panama City Beach extends its sincerest appreciation to Robert Williams for distinguished service and commitment to the city of Panama City Beach. Again, thank you for 10 years of your service, and I'm looking forward to 10 more.
We also have Bill Woodcock from the Water Department.
Congratulations, Bill. The Mayor, City Council, and staff extend sincerest appreciation to Bill Woodcock for dedicated service and commitment to the city of Panama City Beach for 10 years. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
And while they're taking a picture, I would also like to recognize Michael Sparks from the from the Utilities Department. He's on vacation this week, couldn't be here.
Thank you.
All right, 5 years of service for the city. We'll recognize Gary Godsey. He is our electrician. I can't really put him in a department because he helps all of us in all departments.
The mayor, city council, and staff of the city of Panama City Beach extend the sincerest appreciation to Gary Godsey for dedicated service and commitment to the city of Panama City Beach for 5 years. May there be many more.
Next, we have Jeremiah Jagers from the Street Department.
Congratulations. The mayor, city council, and staff of the city of Panama City Beach extend the sincerest appreciation to Jeremiah Jagger for dedicated service and commitment to the city of Panama City Beach for 5 years. Keep it up. Thank you very much.
Next, we have Anthony Malco from the Fire Department.
Congratulations. The mayor, city council, and staff of the city of Panama City Beach extend the sincerest appreciation to Anthony Malco for dedicated service and commitment to the city of Panama City Beach for 5 years. Fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony.
Next, we have Robert Moss from the Police Department.
The mayor, city council, and staff of the city of Panama City Beach extend the sincerest appreciation to Officer Robert Moss for dedicated service and commitment to the city of Panama City Beach for 5 years. Fantastic.
And next, we have Jonah Pocapala from the Police Department.
Congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
The mayor, city council, and staff of the city of Panama City Beach extend the sincerest appreciation to Jonah Pocapala for dedicated service and commitment to the city of Panama City Beach for 5 years. Keep it up. Thank you very much.
And Steve Hawley from the Parks and Recs Department could not attend today. He is also recognizing 5 years.
Thank you, guys.
Did I get it right?
Absolutely.
Thanks. Yep. Yes. We are also recognizing today 2 of our employees who will be retiring next week. They've had 19 years of service and 24 years of service with the police department. I will let Mayor Sheldon speak about them, but they're two wonderful officers and they will be sorely missed. First, we have Corporal Michelle McDonald.
I hope it isn't foreshadowing that they gave me the retirement people. I've only been here 2 months and they're trying to run me out. I feel like that was a setup, but it says recognizing Corporal Michelle McDonald for 19 years of service to the city of Panama City Beach. Congratulations on your retirement. And those that you don't know, I'm fortunate enough to work with such great men and women, but true asset to Panama City Beach is Michelle. And you were going to be sorely missed, and we appreciate everything you've done for our city, keeping us safe. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. It's been a true honor. It
Thank
really
you so
has.
much.
Next, we have Lieutenant Danny McDonald.
Well, I guess she said it's time to retire, so you're both going to go ahead and is that how that works? Recognize Lieutenant Danny McDonald for 24 years of service to the city of Panama City Beach. Congratulations on your retirement. And congratulations. Thank you, guys. I was doing good, Chief.
Get the third wheel in there.
For those of you that didn't pick up, they're obviously Thank you. We appreciate it. Anything you'd like to say?
It's been a true honor, it really has. We've had the opportunity to work with so many, many wonderful people, each and every facet, from the community to our city government to extending far ranges. It's been a magical journey, it really has. And thank you for everything.
Once again, Mayor, everything, thank you. It's been a great opportunity to serve, and it's time. And one of the biggest things I got out of this profession was what I
Thank you.
Y'all don't be strangers now.
I'll hug you afterwards.
I will.
I appreciate everyone's time and going through the presentation this morning. It's very important to all of us to recognize the team that's out here. Panama City Beaches moves forward because of the great team that we have, and we are blessed to have the folks that we have. And I'm very, very thankful for all the staff and employees, and I know I'm speaking for probably everyone up here. But thank you all for what you do for us and for your long-term dedication to the city. We truly appreciate you. Moving on to item number 8 today is public comments for non-agenda items, limited to 3 minutes. Is there anyone who wishes to speak today? Yes, ma'am, please step forward.
Good morning. I'm speaking on behalf of my parents, Daniel and Deborah Fioramonte. They live at 149 Heather Drive. My name is Carrie Fioramonte. I was a longtime resident of Panama City Beach, about 30 plus years. I moved into Lynn Haven, and that is where I now live. I work in Panama City at Gulf Coast State College, where I teach biology. And I just wanted to preface my words with that. And I hope you don't mind if I just read what I have written. I'm here today to implore you to institute a mandate on face coverings in Panama City Beach. In mid-March, this commission and surrounding municipalities had virtually no cases of coronavirus. That did not stop you from shutting down the beaches. It did not stop DeSantis from shutting down businesses statewide. It was not a popular decision. It may have been dubbed overreach by many, but it turned out to be the right decision. It kept SARS-CoV-2 from swamping our county and really our state. It's time to reopen, right? We can't go without income for very long. So the lockdown gave us some time to regroup, get organized, and think about some of the mitigations that we might like to put in place while we reopen. So now, a month later, after Memorial Day weekend, cha-ching, right? We have, our cases are up, our hospitalizations are up. We've had a total of 31 hospitalizations since the end of March. That's about 2.5, 3 months. In the past 10 days, we've had 19 hospitalizations. That's 60% of total hospitalizations. The current hospital beds available are at about 15%, according to data on a public website. I'm extremely concerned that we will have a hospital surge. And I think instead of trying to deal with the hospital surge, we should try to prevent it. There's a lot of reasons. I think that, and I'm just going to go ahead and wing it from here. I've been speaking at several commission meetings and talking to a lot of people. There's a lot of reasons, I think, why people may be opposed to this mandate. Some people may feel that it is a violation of civil liberties. I would disagree. Public health issues are not covered under those. We have the right to privacy, marry, vote, a right to not have illegal search and seizures. We have a right to a trial. But public health issues don't have a place there. As a matter of fact, we put laws into place to protect each other from poor decisions that others may make. I don't think it's fair to ask those of us at high risk, or those of anyone at high risk, that they should just stay home. I think the best compromise would be to mandate face coverings. There is plenty of scientific literature to support that they work, and I would be happy to provide that to you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for listening today.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak? Yes, ma'am.
I made it up without tripping. Mr. Mayor, Council, thank you for allowing me to speak. I'm Missy Sparks. I'm here on behalf of By the Sea Resorts. I'm their Corporate Director of Sales and Marketing. And what I'd like to speak about is the fact that we opened our new jewel, the Candlewood Suites. It's at, I have to look at the address because it's new to me, 16920, but in my speak, it's right over there. And the reason I'm here today is to invite everybody in the room and you guys to our grand opening next Thursday, July the 2nd. We'll have the media there. We will have lunch for everybody, as well as live music and tours of the hotel. And if you can just only come in, take a peek, and need to leave, we'll bag your lunch for you, all safety. But anyway, I just want to come in, invite you guys, please come by and take a look. We're very proud of it. And it'd be an honor for us, for you guys to show up, and ladies too. So thanks, guys.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
Eek.
Anyone else who would like to speak today? Yes, ma'am.
Good morning. It's awesome to see our new city council members. We're happy to have you here.
Thank you, ma'am.
Breath of fresh air. I would just like to follow up on what the young lady was saying about the mask. As we see in this room, we only have 2 people with masks on here, and it's very difficult for people to stay apart. But when you go in the grocery store, you see a lot of young people there, and I'm sure they don't have a mask available right at the time. And they just run in the store, and they're all up on people, moving back and forth. And we do know how this virus is spread. So I think if we make them available, the mask available to our people going in the grocery stores or whatever, that would certainly help to cut down on this. It's not a mystery as how this virus is spread. It's a mystery as to why we are not doing something to keep it from happening. From a renter standpoint, I rent homes, and people are calling in and saying, Panama City is up on the top of the list, and you guys are growing. Are we still going to be able to come? Because they're listening to the news media. So I think in a country where we can provide condoms to keep our young people safe, which we do, why can't we provide a mask at different locations to provide for people if they want one to use? because we all know the only way we're going to get rid of this is to stop it. It goes through your mouth. It's not a mystery. And so cover your mouth when you're in a heavy area, and it won't happen to you. So, you know, it's not about taking away people's rights. It's about protecting the rights of people who are all being subjected to this. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Anyone else who wishes to speak this morning? Yes, sir.
My name is Captain Gary Wayne Beck. I live at 2601 Beach Street. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Mayor, I'm here to talk about the Constitution and Bill of Rights. Our forefathers set up the Constitution in a very simple manner, and our Fourth Amendment is plain. Every constitutional right in the Bill of Rights is very plain. And in 2013, when the government came on my property, they destroyed my tools. These tools here I used to make a living with. This is some of my electrical tools that I used during the winter when I wasn't fishing during the summer. When the government came on my property and destroyed everything I had, it was devastating. That's when I found out that I was in a criminal organization. And what I mean by this is these people are so good at passing a buck when they want to take somebody's property or they want to take somebody's stuff that they get it to the point where whoever just hangs up the phone. And I've been experiencing that for 10 years, and the only way I had to fight it, y'all seen it, I've been drug away from this podium numerous different times, and then I have to face the wrath of the media who has no problem spreading lies about me. You know, the American dream is to own your house and to have a vacation and to work hard. I own my home, and now this racketeering called code enforcement is trying to take my home. And they threatened me with guns the other day because they put $12,000 on my taxes, property taxes, and I ain't got the money to pay it because everybody ran because they're scared of the government. You know, they're scared of the good old boys. Nobody will hire me. Oh, yeah, and I have a hard time filling out an application. But during the meantime, all my life, I never had a problem getting a job until they were scared of these people, you know? And the fact of the matter that I'm sitting here, and now the government is tearing down people's homes. They tore down my home almost all the way. They tore down my uncle's home all the way. Oh, yeah, and when they tore down my uncle's home, that was because a convicted felon had stolen 2 pistols from a gun show, and I was standing there after that happened, and I told the guy, I'd known him for 20 years, Red, and I went over to my uncle's house, and this guy had these pistols, and I told him, I called 911, and the cops wouldn't show up. You know, the cops didn't show up. A few days later, they came back, and they kicked in my uncle's door and put my uncle in jail, and then they destroyed his house while he was in jail. You know, that's a racket. They knew what they were going to do. If they wanted the guy that stole the guns, my uncle didn't steal the guns. The guy he had with him did. During the meantime, I'm stuck here once again, and I can't believe the fact that this criminal organization, they keep passing the buck saying it's not this jurisdiction, it's another jurisdiction. Well, you know, the meth heads and all that stuff, the drug dealers come in my house, I'm pretty sure they're not going to stop in the jurisdictions to stay where they're at. You know, everybody needs to get together. I've been 10 years in this town trying to do what's right. 10 years I've been fighting, but you know, I've seen the people suffering. You cannot believe what they're doing to the people that don't have a voice because they got the coverage of the media sitting right there and back there to cover for the criminal organization. And if anybody does get up here to speak, we've all seen how they pull them away from this podium. You know, hopefully I'm going to be able to work together and we're going to get this happen. But the way things are going right now, it cannot continue, sir. It can't. Thank you.
Very much. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak? Non-agenda items? Hearing none, we'll close that portion. We will move on to our regular agenda today. Item number 1 is Resolution 2129, COVID-19 related measures. Ms. Myers.
A resolution of the City of Panama City Beach, Florida, reopening city facilities subject to social distancing, repealing the suspension of early sick leave payouts, repealing the suspension of involuntary water utility disconnections, reopening Frank Brown Park / Park.
All right, at this point, is there any member of the audience who'd like to speak regarding item number 1? Seeing none. Mr. O'Rourke, anything you'd like to add?
Yes, Mayor and City Council, we've been discussing since March, one of the concerns about COVID-19 is its rapidly changing nature. The volatility of this particular infection is scary. We thought we were doing quite well, and we were as a county. And as a state, we were doing quite well, but things have changed. Since I sent this memo to you on Friday, we've had over 135 cases of COVID, almost doubling in 5 or 6 days what we had already experienced over almost 3 months. So we had recommended a series of actions permitting public access to city buildings, suspending our temperature checks, ending suspension of involuntary water utility shut-offs, recommending initiation of city summer concert series, reinstituting our voluntary early payouts, and permitting opening of the aquatic center's kiddie pool, as I like to call it, and open. Well, given the facts today, we would probably recommend that we don't do any of those things. It'd be premature, and as Councilman McConnell so appropriately says, we need to probably tap the brakes. One thing we probably will recommend, because this was more a function of the economy, was ending the suspension of involuntary water utility shut-offs and collecting the late payments between April and July. Currently, we have about $746,000 in outstanding delinquent payments. We can't go too much longer without collecting them. We're going to work very diligently with everyone that may have delinquency, make sure, A, there's no late charges during this period of time, and work with them if necessary with some sort of amortization program. We want to be sensitive, but one thing we're assured of, given the level of hotel, motel, short-term rental, restaurant, retail activity, things are booming. That's the good news. We may be paying a price for that, but the economy is definitely in full roar as we speak. So there should be an ability for most people to make these payments. But everything else, we would suggest let's revisit this in 2 weeks at your next council meeting, as we have been since the beginning of this epidemic, and look at the data, let the data and the scientific evidence drive your decision making.
Any comments?
I guess everybody knows my opinion on it since the city manager had brought that up, but I do think that we need a little time to evaluate this recent spike and see exactly where we're going.
My only question is, do we maintain the July 16th for summer concerts, or do we push that?
My opinion, I think we need to push that a little bit until we know what's happening.
I agree with you guys on that, and I agree with everything you said so far, and that's kind of scary that we're agreeing.
We're doing that a lot more, Paul.
I noticed that, but anyhow, I do think we need to tap the brakes a little bit, and, but so maybe that is too aggressive to try to do the July 16th. Maybe we need to push that back a little bit and see what this virus does in the meantime.
Yeah, and as we've said all along, we need to look at the evidence of the prior 2-week period. So we'll see in 2 weeks how we're doing. Hopefully this surge is going to flatten and decline, and then we might be open to taking these initiatives that we had previously planned. But again, rather than just full board ahead, we need to watch the data and watch the utilization of our hospital, particularly ICU capacities, look at the number of overall cases, especially the positivity rate. I know there's some confusion about, well, we're getting more cases, we're doing more testing. We are doing more testing, but the overall rate of being positive is much higher than it has been in the past, which illustrates that the infection rate usually is, you try to have a 1 or less on infections. It means if you're infected, you'll probably infect one other person. Clearly, it's gone beyond 1, which in a pandemic is geometric. So if you infect 2 people, that person infects 4, 8. You can see what happens when that number 1 increases. And I think we're unfortunately experiencing that right now. Hopefully things will settle down, but we'll know a lot more as we watch this data over the next 2 weeks.
Go ahead, sir.
Mayor, can we give Mr. Ponick maybe a date of the 30th, July 30th? I mean, we'll have 2 more meetings before that to kind of.
We can prepare for it, but
Prepare for it.
we're not going to
Just
promote or
prepare,
advertise anything.
To give him a date,
we know.
something to shoot
Sure.
for.
Sure.
And one other thing I'd like to bring up, if I could, Mayor, I apologize.
No, go ahead.
Yesterday in an interview, Councilman Griffith noted that one of the hospitals has an entire floor set aside for COVID cases. And I also do want to make sure that people know that the ICU beds that are being occupied are not all COVID cases. They're, a various amount of different ailments and issues. So I don't want people to feel like, we're full up with COVID around here, so.
Very important statement. I was in a meeting yesterday afternoon, and folks from Gulf Coast Hospital were on the call, and they specifically wanted that to be known, that there is availability. They're more back to normal operations. They're seeing more admissions, they're seeing more elective surgeries and things of that nature. City manager brought up the positivity rate is higher, getting higher, but that's in the state, not in Bay County. Bay County's still at 3% as of yesterday's report from the Department of Health. So even though the case testing is higher, the positivity rate is still 3% on yesterday's report from the Department of Health here in Bay County. So they are also at Gulf Coast starting to bring back more employees. They didn't lay off any full-time employees or regular employees, but their contract laborers, they didn't continue to have them come in because they didn't have the workload for them. So now they're actually just bringing employees back into the fold that weren't in the fold before. So I think it's important to see that truly the hospital, even though you see some of those ICU numbers, they specifically said, even though the cases are increasing, they're not seeing a direct correlation of that in their ICUs. And that was an important statement when he made that statement yesterday. And I think the public needs to understand that. It was very, obviously we know what's going on. We're looking at the numbers every day, but it was very good to hear that it wasn't just full of COVID cases. There's a lot of surgeries that go to the ICU and things like that. So even though the positivity rate is at that 3%, they're getting back to normal admissions and normal work functions. So that's something I think that's important to put out there as well. We probably need a motion then on the segment. One question I did want to ask you, Mr. O'Rourke, is on the pay portion of that, the early retirement. Is there a reason we wouldn't want to move forward with that?
We could move forward with that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because those are two of the financial aspects I think that we could move forward with, in my opinion.
That's what I was going to say, is we need to go through and we're going to have to identify what we're going to omit from this resolution. So permit public access to all city buildings and facilities.
No.
We're going to, that's
No.
on hold.
I think it's probably easier.
That's on hold.
Read what we're.
All right.
Yeah. I think you would just say you're going to move forward with the, end the suspension of the involuntary and reinstitute voluntary early payout.
I agree.
Is that right?
I think so.
Those are the two.
Can we get a motion on that so it's tidied up, please?
Can I reread the title and you'll make a motion to
Absolutely. Yes, ma'am.
approve it
Please
as
do.
amended, if you don't mind?
Sorry.
A resolution of the City of Panama City Beach repealing the suspension of early sick leave payouts, repealing the suspension of involuntary water utility disconnections.
I make a motion to strike all items minus the involuntary suspension of water and the sick leave payout for this resolution.
I second.
Motion and second. Any more discussion?
Adding a date of the 30th. Concert.
Or summer concert. Yes.
Okay.
Tentative.
This resolution doesn't speak to that date.
That's okay.
Okay.
Okay. Motion and a second on the two items that we have. Is there any more discussion?
Okay.
Ms. Smith, will you please call the roll?
Councilman Jarman?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilman Casto?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilman Chester?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilman McConnell?
Yes, ma'am.
Mayor Sheldon?
Yes, ma'am. Item number 2 today is ordinance 1523, the General Employee Pension Charter Officer Vesting, second reading. This is a public hearing. Ms. Myers, would you please read the ordinance?
An ordinance of the City of Panama City Beach further amending the City of Panama City Beach General Municipal Employees Pension Plan adopted pursuant to ordinance number 1158 as subsequently amended, amending section 9 vesting, repealing all ordinances in conflict herewith and providing an effective date.
We will open this public hearing up. Is there anyone who would like to speak on item number 2? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Is there anything that you'd like to add to this, Mr. O'Rourke? No. Okay. Up for discussion.
Mayor,
Yes,
I had a question for council. That just pertains to 2 of our employees, the city manager and the city clerk. Is that correct?
And the finance director, who is
Okay.
also all non-civil
So
service
it's
employees.
not, it's three positions then, right?
Yes,
Okay,
practically.
that's all I asked.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. Ms. Smith, please call the roll.
Councilman Jarman?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilman Casto?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilman Chester?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilman McConnell?
Yes, ma'am.
Mayor Sheldon?
Yes, ma'am. Item number 3 today is ordinance 1526, the City Advisory Board Governance, second reading. It's a public hearing. Ms. Myers, will you please read the ordinance?
An ordinance of the City of Panama City Beach, Florida, amending Chapter 2 of the city's Code of Ordinances relating to boards, commissions, and committees, authorizing the establishment of advisory committees by resolution, providing for the purpose, duration, and membership of committees, establishing the general terms, duties, and expectations of committee members, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict, providing for codification, and providing an immediately effective date.
At this point, we'll open up item number 3 to public comment. Is there any public comment regarding item 3? Seeing none, we will close that section. Mr. O'Rourke, anything you'd like to add to this?
Yes, this is building upon the city council's initiative to engage its citizenry and seek and solicit consultation on critical subjects. You stood up the Financial Advisory Committee last month. This is your next committee on the CRA, so we really look forward to this to provide, again, added value, input from our citizenry, and to provide direction and assistance to both the staff and the city council.
Well, this one's just the second reading of all the boards, right?
Yes.
Yes. Yep. It's just so we can get the new committees up and running.
Yep.
Great opportunity for our city. Any comment?
Discussion. Motion to approve?
We have a motion
Second.
and a second. Any other discussion? Ms. Smith, please call the roll.
Councilman Jarman,
Yes, ma'am.
Councilman Casto,
Yes, ma'am.
Councilman Chester,
Yes, ma'am.
Councilman McConnell,
Yes, ma'am.
Mayor Sheldon.
Yes, ma'am. Item number 4 today is Resolution 2130, the CRA Advisory Committee creation. Ms. Myers.
A resolution of the City of Panama City Beach, Florida, establishing a Community Redevelopment Area Advisory Committee to provide oversight, recommendations, and guidance to advance the execution of the goals and objectives of the Front Beach Road Community Redevelopment Plan.
At this point, we'll open number 4 up to public comment. Seeing none, we'll close that. Mr. O'Rourke, anything like that to this one?
Looking forward to the establishment of this group and you selecting on the next agenda item a council member to be liaison. And I think, with the kickoff of the financial management group, it's obvious that it's going to be of significant benefit to the city and at no cost. And we're truly tapping into the talent and experience that is in this area.
Great, thank you, sir. I'm excited to stand up this one. The CRA is something that I think we all have discussed and heard enough about, that it's exciting to get some other folks engaged into it. David obviously does a great job with it, but it's nice to see wrapping our hands around it and just seeing some other options and some other things. And I love that Mr. O'Rourke said things that I know are near and dear to many of our hearts when he said, at no cost to the city. So I think that's an exciting thing.
But are we keeping this at 5, 1 per?
10.
It says 10 in here.
Yeah,
10,
I
2
know.
per.
And I'm for uniformity here if we want to keep everything at 5.
I like 5, yes.
Okay.
Keep it
I
at 5.
agree also. So,
5 works for me if that's what y'all want.
We can
I
always.
guess we could do 5 if the staff felt like they needed more, we could move it up to 7 or 10 or whatever. But right now, I think keep it uniform, have it 5 members.
Across the board.
Yeah, the enabling legislation that the attorneys have previously discussed allows for a minimum of 5, so it can be 5 on up to 10.
David,
So we can
do you
start with
agree with
5.
that? You want 5 or you want 10 or 20, 50?
5 would be the number.
To begin with, yeah.
Okay.
I think,
Thank you.
just to go to the next one, I think the economic development one should be 10, personally, because as many boots on the ground as you can get as your sales force is
I
probably
feel that
best.
but see, I feel that the same way with this one. And personally, I've reached out to folks to make sure I have my selections committed. Now I've got 2 folks
Yeah, I
that
do
I've
too.
asked to be part of this committee based on this. So I'm gonna have to go back to someone now at this point and say,
Yeah, same.
that, if we stick it to 5. So I think us getting as many opportunities and many eyes on something as we can, there's no reason we wouldn't want to take more people.
I make a motion for 5.
Second.
Motion and second. Any other discussion? I wish it was 10. I'm going to let you guys call my people. Hearing no more discussion, please call the roll.
Councilman Jarman,
Yes.
Councilman Casto,
Yes, ma'am.
Councilman Chester,
Yes.
Councilman McConnell,
Yes, ma'am.
Mayor Sheldon.
Yes, ma'am. Item number 5 is the appointment of CRA advisory board members and council liaison. Is there any public comment on item number 5? Yes, ma'am.
The CRA is funded by the people who live along the beach and have businesses. they fund this. I think it's very important that they have a voice in this, because many of the people are losing spaces in front of their homes because of the CRA. And we all want Panama City Beach to look beautiful, but when you take away the parking in front of homes that's been there for like 60 years, more than that, then where do those people go and park? You're literally destroying their businesses unless you provide appropriate parking nearby. I recently spoke with David about 2 lots that are available at Pier Park, and I think the city purchased them. Thank you, Ms. Hatcher. I told him he could buy them or I would and sell them to him. The point of it is we really need to have people who are out there with their eyes on the ground, people who have skin in the game. So I won't, when you go through and you take away all the land in front of a house and people can't park, I want you to think about how you're going to help that homeowner instead of providing some parking down the road and you're going to put a big price on their individuals that may go there and park. Not only are you destroying their home by taking away all the parking in front of it, but now where are their people going to park? We get a lot of money from tourism, our 1%, 5%, all the, the numbers. But when people can't come there and rent that house and it's all along Pier Park, then we've messed up our rental numbers, our 1%. We've messed that up, but also they have nowhere to park, and then we're going to tell our people, you can park down the road, but you're going to be charged a big percentage to do so. So I really want some people on that committee that's going to have some skin in the game and have something to lose. That's just what I'm saying. Not just people who don't have, just talking off the cuff. We want everything to be beautiful, but we really have to think about, there's 15 homes along Pier Park that are literally, they're going to be destroyed if this plan comes through and takes all their parking away except 1 or 2 spaces for houses. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there any other comments for item number 5 today? Hearing none, Mr. O'Rourke.
On which
Item 5, is there anything you'd like to add?
No.
No, okay. At this point, we do need to have a council liaison appointed to this.
I'd like to nominate Michael Jarman. He's on our TPO. I think he would be good to serve in this capacity.
Second.
Nomination and a second. Without discussion, Ms. Smith, will you please call the roll on that?
Councilman Jarman,
Yes, ma'am.
Councilman Casto,
Yes, ma'am.
Councilman Chester.
Yes, ma'am.
Councilman McConnell.
Yes, ma'am.
Mayor Sheldon.
Absolutely, yes, ma'am. At this point, too, it is members' options if they'd like to name their committee members, or if they would like to do that another time. If folks would like to name who they want to put on this
We can do it now.
committee.
I do want to make one statement, though, if I could. These are advisory committees and not oversight committees. These are folks that, in my view, are here to help us do business in a much better way and to give us advice on how to get to a better spot, not so much get into the weeds of oversight on that side. And that's my viewpoint on advisory committees. This is, an oversight committee is a different animal to me. So I just wanted to make that statement.
All right.
Okay. I don't totally agree, but that's okay. I believe that we need all the input we can get. I want as much oversight and direction as we can, and we actually just passed an item number 4 that it literally says oversight. So to me,
I understand.
okay. If you folks would like to nominate your folks, make your appointments. Councilman Jarman.
Debbie McCormick.
Ben Faust.
Mr. Matt Bush.
Andy Gonzalez.
And I will appoint Claire Pease. Perfect. Moving on. Item number 6 today is Resolution 2131, Beach Safety Services. Ms. Myers.
A resolution of the City of Panama City Beach, Florida, related to the provision of beach safety services, establishing a public-private partnership program for the provision of beach safety services by the city, establishing a scope of services for the city beach safety services, approving an invitation to participate in the city's beach safety service program, approving a form agreement for beach safety service with host beaches, approving rates for the city's provision of beach safety services on host beaches, and providing an immediately effective date.
Perfect. Is there any public comment on item number 6 today? Seeing none. Chief Couch, is there anything you'd like to add? Perfect. Thank you very much. Open up for discussion. Gentlemen.
I do have just one thing here. On the cost section in Appendix D, I see we're split out on the portable lifeguard towers and the ATV from the operating cost, the equipment that the city is saying that they're on the hook for. It just kind of creates to me a visual that's not quite correct. So I would like to see all 3 of those items lumped into one number at the end like they are up at the top one, so that it doesn't appear as though the cost that the city is bringing on board is at a significantly lower number. And also in the implementation of this, if we do pass it, I would prefer not to have a passive stance where we just advertise this on our website and on our Facebook page. I would like to see an active stance where we reach out to every condo association, every hotel that's on the beach line, and say, hey, look, this is what we're doing. Somebody needs to physically contact those folks and give them this information and have a conversation with them. If we sit back and we're passive, we already have found out during this COVID at least, people are not paying attention to some of the things that we're doing. So I'd appreciate if we could get out there and be more active with it.
It's a great idea. So obviously, I'm a big proponent of it. We have to do something. There's no reason for us to lose lives in the manner that we have in the past. And I fully believe that we should have lifeguards covering the entire beach. We've looked at it. We financially can't. Yeah, we need cooperation. We need the business community to step up. And for year 1, $127,000. Year 2, $95,425. I hope that the revenue that is gained by some of these businesses can be put back into making an even better Panama City Beach. So I actually call on these businesses to step up in that manner too, just like I feel like everyone else up here is saying, hey, let's all work together to create a better solution.
I agree with that. One thing that I wanted to ask the chief is, I know last year we put an ordinance in place where if people disobeyed the red flags, that we would issue citations. Are we doing that? Are we going to start doing that? Or?
We're currently working right now with the police department and code enforcement. And the issues of citations are, people actually went through a class to learn how to do it. But the citations are following more under code and law enforcement. The lifeguards that we have down there, as they're stretched thin, they need to pay attention to the water more than worry about writing citations.
Yeah,
so
I
that
heard that one of the drownings, that person had been asked 4 or 5 times to get out of the
That's
water.
correct.
And I just think that we could do a better job on that. And I hate to find our tourists that are coming down here, but when they disobey a lifeguard or a police officer or fire water safety person, that there should be consequences for that. So I think we need to step that up on a double red flag. And I think with social media, you wouldn't have to do too many of them before the word would get out, because I think the reason people are doing that is because they don't think we're going to do anything about it.
Right. Yeah, and we've had a lot of help from, Kelly's team and the police department down there trying,
And I know it's
trying
a
to
hassle
enforce
because
it
they don't have their
and do the
driver's
best we
license
can.
with them, but I
Yeah,
just think
that's-
we put that in place, and I think we got to use that hammer when we need to, and I hopefully won't have to do it too frequently, but I think the word would get out pretty quickly that when it's double red, we mean stay out of the water.
Right.
And I do like the idea of code enforcement being used in that task, so the police department isn't stretched, trying, walking down on the beach and spending all that time
I'm okay with that. I
on
just think
on
we
that
need-
citation.
During double red flag.
During double red flag.
Yeah.
Yes.
So,
Yes, sir.
If I may.
Absolutely.
Have we looked into the towers on the piers? Have you looked into that?
we have, and moving forward, that would be a good thing to have, but that just takes one other person beachside out onto the pier to observe the
Right,
line
'cause
of
I know with
sight.
the or the binoculars they have, they can see
Yeah.
2.5 miles. I mean,
really cover
Right.
What about a
the area.
camera on the pier? What about cameras? Instead of a physical person,
Yeah.
no?
We're going to talk a lot more about the beach safety initiative during my report, so I'll be glad to provide you a lot more information, but you're right on point with those observations, and we'll expound upon the multiple steps we have to take.
Fort
Fortunate-
Walton Beach has a
Yeah.
real nice tower out on their pier. That would be something y'all might want to look at when you get to that point there.
Yeah.
Yeah. That'd be great.
Okay.
Great. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
As
Thank you.
always. Is there, can I get a motion to move forward with this based on,
I'll make a
Councilman
motion to move
McConnell's-
forward with resolution 20-131.
great, motion and second. Any more discussion?
With the changes.
Yes.
Yes. All right, Ms. Smith, will you please call the roll?
Councilman Jarman?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilman Casto?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilman Chester?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilman McConnell?
Yes, ma'am.
Mayor Sheldon?
Yes, ma'am. Moving on, item number 7 today is Resolution 2132, which is a bid award for the Citizen Engagement Study and Budget Amendment Number 37. Ms. Myers.
A resolution of the City of Panama City Beach, Florida, approving an agreement with Policy Confluence, Inc. for community survey services in the amount of $21,635 and approving a budget amendment to fully fund the purchase.
Is there any public comment on item number 7 today? Seeing none? Mr. O'Rourke?
Yes, in order to deliver on the council's desire to understand the needs and expectations of our community, this will be an important exercise in soliciting public input and comments on how people not only rate city services, but how they rate a number of factors in the city, including quality of life, the economy, the governance of their community, mobility, the built environment, safety, their natural environment, health, wellness, education, arts and culture, and this will be very critical information as we push forward to enhance the overall quality of life in this community. The data, especially coming from our customers, is absolutely critical to determine what we should be focused on and what their expectations are. To that end, we're very fortunate that we got 4 proposals, and that National Research Center is the prevailing vendor, both in quality of their submissions, their experience, and equally importantly, they were the lowest cost provider, so it was a win-win-win for everyone. In addition, they will provide us, they just merged with a company called Paulco, which can provide us free survey opportunities on a regular basis. We can effectively create little panels of citizens, so when we have topics or issues we want to get some sense of community input, they'll be sent a quick survey and we can get almost instantaneous results. So we look forward to that, and that's free as part of this overall service, so that's great. They have done over 1,000 of these surveys, so experience is their middle name. Just to briefly explain to the public how this is going to occur. So we will promote the survey, which will be very, very important because unfortunately there is a history in the city of, I'll be honest, a lack of participation. Where it's an electoral process, filling out the national census. We have to do a better job hearing from the voice of the community. So Debbie will work hard in conjunction with this company, National Research Center, to get the word out, work with local media, social media, to really promote the opportunity that the public is going to have. We don't want that wasted. They will mail surveys on a randomized basis to 1,700 homes in Panama City Beach using the Postal Service for that data. In addition to the mail survey, each of the households selected will have the option, if they choose, and rather than filling out a written survey, they can do it online. Now, the vast majority of people prefer the written survey, and we send them a postcard, which will include a letter from the entire council encouraging people's participation, how important this is for our future decision-making and enhancements to the community. And another reminder to get us the information, and so they'll be contacted 3 times in total. So that should be sufficient, but we really just need to prime the pump to get people prepared to receive the survey. Please take advantage of this opportunity. Don't let it go to waste. After the survey is completed, which will be in the middle of August, we will promote the opportunity for everyone in the city to have an online survey that they can fill out. Regardless of not being selected as one of the randomized households, we will have a separate database analysis on that survey that will be set apart from the official results. But my experience has been those results are eerily similar to the scientific randomized survey. And it gives a lot more people an opportunity to weigh in. So we're going to promote that, but that will be after the closure of the written survey. So the final survey product will include almost 90 questions about the subjects I just suggested. In addition, we have 15 currently customized questions from the City Council. Those are important. A lot of them are policy, investment types of opportunities you want feedback on. So we just ask the council to review those questions. We have until the middle of July to finalize that instrument. So if there's additional questions or you want to tweak one of the existing questions, that's fine. But let's take advantage of that and probably bring this survey to closure at your July 9th meeting. And then the survey will be mailed out on July 23rd. It's about a 2-week process for the mailings and getting that back. They'll review the data in September, and you'll get a final report on October the 9th. And you'll also get to compare the data, not just as a city, but by council district, which is important. And also you'll be able to benchmark and compare that data with other similar communities within the state of Florida and in the country as a whole. So that will be valuable information.
Great.
Any questions?
The survey return envelope, is that prepaid?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's going to make a
There's
big difference.
no excuses not to get this survey back.
Yeah.
I love that it's the lowest cost provider too,
Yeah.
out of
Yeah.
all of them, so that's the greatest part for us.
No, I want to say that I'm very pleased that this is happening. It's something I've been asking for 2 years. We all hear a handful of very loud voices, and I prefer to hear, and to be able to quantify what our residents truly want and what they truly feel versus a handful of people that are trying to drive the bus.
I'm good.
Great.
All right.
Open for a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion second. Any other discussion? Hearing none. Ms. Smith, please call the roll.
Councilman Jarman?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilman Casto?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilman Chester?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilman McConnell?
Yes, ma'am.
Mayor Sheldon?
Yes, ma'am. Moving on, item number 8 is Resolution 20-128, bid award for Eagle Drive drainage improvements. Ms. Meyer.
A resolution of the City of Panama City Beach, Florida, approving an agreement with GAC Contractors, Inc. for the Eagle Drive Drainage Improvement Project in the basic amount of $96,500.
Thank you. Item number 8 is open for public comment. Is there any public comment? Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Bernie Thompson. And as you know, I normally keep my focus on politicians who use their position to intimidate or bully others. I'm grateful that we don't have that anymore, so thank you very much. I also keep a close eye on what I consider to be conflicts of interest, and I just wanted to address a couple of them with you very quickly. We know just 2 days ago, a county commissioner was arrested, Keith Baker, and charged with fraud and bid tampering. And I'm actually expecting more arrests very soon. I know that the big investigation, they're keeping a close eye on elected officials, city attorneys, and city managers. Today, though, I am most concerned about the identity of the engineer of record on this project. And his letter can be found on page 229 of the agenda packet. County Commissioner Robert Carroll and most of you were supported and funded by Derwin White, who is the president of GAC Contracting, to win this award today. And he also pays for the extensive candidate polling and other things that help propel you to office. The city has interlocal agreements with the county. The project benefits the neighborhood in which 2 of you live. Amendment 12 of the Florida Constitution prohibits elected officials from lobbying on behalf of private companies. That's Amendment 12. All of this, I feel, is just way too much. Commissioner Robert Carroll has no business doing business with the city of Panama City Beach as the engineer of record. And I'm disappointed to see that he is. So if you would please let me know who hired Robert Carroll Commissioner Robert Carroll as the engineer of record? And how much was he paid for those services? I think these are important to know. I'm not opposed to the project itself. And that's between you and the voters. I don't get in between that. But if Robert Carroll, the commissioner, was not the engineer of record by the city, if it didn't appear as though Commissioner Robert Carroll was lobbying you to make a vote, as we can see on page 229 of the agenda packet, I would not be addressing this. That's my issue. I just want to make sure that there's clarity on that. And I do believe that a yes vote today would most certainly warrant an ethics complaint and a tip to investigators about public corruption in Bay County. And please don't bring that kind of scrutiny to this new and improved city council. I hope that you'll look at it closely and take it seriously. It really doesn't look good. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comments regarding item number 8?
Yes, my name is Captain Gary Beck. I live at 2601 Beach Street. On this right here, Mr. Thompson just had spoke about corruption and racketeering and stuff such as that. I spoke time and again with
Mr.
Mr.
Beck,
Yes,
Beck,
sir.
we're going to keep this to this agenda item. You had your 3 minutes at the beginning of the meeting, so
Okay.
this is specific to the item number 8, which is Eagle Drive drainage.
All right, please forgive me.
Thank you very much. Is there any other public comments regarding Eagle Drive drainage? Hearing none, we'll close that portion. Ms. Jenkins, will you please step up?
Yes, just for clarification, we have all of our engineers of record make a recommendation in the bidding process. So they have to, and it's always been the process that we use the lowest bid. There were 5 bidders. GAC was the lowest bidder. They ranged from 96,000 to 170-some thousand. And so we want to save money. That's, we look at it too. It's just not the engineer of record. The RFQ was put out a long time ago, and we rotate services. I don't have the cost that this one in particular was paid, but I do know that this area has been on the list since 2007, and so it's been identified for a very long time. It wasn't necessarily a home immediate flood threat, it's more nuisance flooding, so it went down on the list, and that's why it hasn't been taken care of until now. So.
I can confirm for Kelly and for y'all that McNeil Carroll Engineering was hired by the city for professional stormwater engineering services, I believe with one other firm as well, in December of 2013. The task order for this particular Eagle Drive drainage project was approved by the council for McNeil to design in March of 19 by resolution that came before the council.
Okay. All right. Any other discussion regarding item number 8?
Mrs. Myers, does Commissioner Carroll have a conflict, in your opinion, on doing work for the city?
No, not in my opinion.
Okay, thank you.
This work was competitively bid, and he competitively won the contract back then. It is my recollection, although I don't have the contracts in front of me, that we awarded 2 firms contracts for professional stormwater engineering, and his was one of the 2 firms.
So we're not doing anything illegally hiring his firm either? Then?
No, sir.
Thank you.
I love that, just like the previous item, that the lowest bid is what's awarded. I think that's what we have to look at as a city, when we look at the dollars and cents. To me, that's the part that drives all of it. And again, like any contractor, multiple bids, and I don't care who the contractor is, like with all projects moving forward, I think everyone's heard me state it, whether it was in the campaign or it's now, we're gonna hold contractors accountable. And it's time to make sure our timelines are hit and our dollars and cents are hit. So to me, it's the lowest bidder.
Ms. Jenkins, this is a similar project that was across the street at Bidaway that was completed last year. But the one across the street, there were actually homes were flooding.
Correct,
there.
yes,
But
that
it
is similar, but this never really made it to inside the homes.
Right.
But yeah, very similar. So we had CDM, a different firm, was the one that made these different recommendations back in 2007. They're no longer our engineer, but.
Right.
Did it.
Ms. Jenkins, in this project, is there any indication that there would ever be a change order on this?
I can't guarantee that because we're digging, and so you could have that. I didn't put any contingency in here for a change order, so we'd come back to you if we needed to.
So as it stands, this should be sufficient to take care of it?
That's our expectation. If we run into something when we're digging it up that was unforeseen, it could happen.
And you didn't have any reason to disqualify the low bidder on this project?
No.
Thank you.
They all met. They were all responsive. It was just off the low bid.
Ms. Myers, as far as myself and the mayor, we do live in Colony Club. This is up front. And I do know the water drainage because I do get the phone calls, and hopefully this will eliminate me getting my phone calls and emails and
I've gotten phone calls.
running down there because
And I don't even live near
the
it.
drains are stopped up, and I'm out there in a pouring down deluge, unstopping drains, which I don't mind at all. But this water does run in a different direction. It doesn't affect myself nor the mayor.
The fact that this project is occurring in your neighborhood does not present a conflict of
Right,
interest.
right.
You are benefiting the same way as every other resident of that neighborhood.
Otherwise, you would not be able to represent your ward
Yeah,
ever
exactly.
on
Right.
anything.
Right. Okay.
So,
Thank you. Any other comments, discussion? 2128 is open for a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and second. Any other discussion? Hearing none, Ms. Smith, please call the roll.
Councilman Jarman?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilman Casto?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilman Chester?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilman McConnell?
yes, ma'am.
Mayor Sheldon?
Yes, ma'am. Moving on, item number 9 is wastewater odor control. Open for any public comment regarding item number 9. Mark's excited, so hearing no other comment, we're gonna pull you right, man,
Be less excited.
this guy wants to talk. I like it. Step on up, sir.
Quite the subject matter.
Yeah.
Good morning. I'm Mark Schaefer. I'm an engineer in the utilities group here with the city of Panama City Beach. And I'm going to go briefly through an odor control evaluation we were tasked with. Previous mayor, current mayor, council, and the utilities director asked me to take a look at odor control in select areas in the city where we've been receiving complaints, see if there's some ways that we can look at some newer technologies, maybe get some improved results. So I have a very brief PowerPoint presentation. I promise you it's 8 slides. At the end, I'll walk you through the evaluations that were done, some cost options and implementation options as well. So let's get started. Let's see, my first time with this device. Although it's not the primary reason that you get an unpleasant odor from wastewater, hydrogen sulfide is the primary culprit. It's not unique to wastewater, it's also in the groundwater. If you've ever walked by someone's sprinkler system that's using well water, you get that rotten egg scent, that's hydrogen sulfide. Unfortunately, our noses are really good at detecting hydrogen sulfide. We can detect it down to 1/100th of a part per billion. Ammonia, the odor threshold is about 4 times higher than that. So you can detect it at extremely low levels. It's a product of decay, so it's a function of temperature and time. In wastewater, here in Florida, we have temperature, of course. Unfortunately, we're also very flat. So Florida's wastewater utilities across the state, it's not unique to Florida, all have to have pump stations because we don't have relief here for gravity sewers. Hydrogen sulfide is initially dissolved in the wastewater. Turbulent flow and acidic conditions as a pH drop can cause it to be released into the atmosphere and assault your nose. Sorry, I'm a little slow with the gun here. Primary points of complaint here in the city are 4 lift stations, as you can imagine. They're primary lift stations. They repump sewage. There's lift station 73, which is on Panama City Beach Parkway by the La Quinta. No. Yes, La Quinta. I was trying to think it was a different hotel. There's our wastewater treatment facility that's also on North Gulf Boulevard, just north of Panama City Beach Parkway. Lift station 96, we call the East End Lift Station. It's across from the Hombre Golf Course on the north side of Panama City Beach Parkway. It repumps all of the sewage that's generated on the east end of the city. 73 pumps everything on the west end of the city. regional lift station at Joan, just south of the Grand Lagoon area, and Magnolia Beach on the far east end, just east of Thomas Drive, also repump sewage. So as you'd expect, those are the 4 primary lift stations that we receive complaints about. Lift stations are generally pretty easy to retrofit with odor control because it's a controlled environment, pretty small point source. We also get a lot of complaints about the wastewater treatment facility. That's a lot more challenging because you have so many different areas of treatment, so many points of odor release that you're trying to fit with an odor control system. Treatment options, they follow 2 schools of thought. One school is to keep the hydrogen sulfide in the wastewater by treating it with chemicals. You tie it up, keep it in there, it can't get released. The other is to treat the odorous air that is released. And there's 2 options of doing that chemically, which we currently use at a few lift stations, using ozone and an absorption type system, or a fairly new system called biological removal. I'm going to talk on both of those very quickly. This is a chemical injection system. It's used extensively by one of our sister utilities over in Pensacola, the Emerald Coast Utility Authority. It follows the school of thought of tying the hydrogen sulfide up in the wastewater chemically. Kind of the interesting, or one of the key points about a chemical injection system is you don't set it up at the point of odor control. You actually set it up upstream to allow the chemicals time to react to the wastewater and tie that hydrogen sulfide up. Because of that, the cost of that, having to secure another site, can affect the economics of that pretty severely. Also, that site has to be accessible for a big bulk delivery of chemical, because if you get a small delivery, the cost per gallon goes way up. So those economics are very sensitive to that. But that's one of the promising technologies that we looked at. Another one is the biological air treatment. It's also known as a biofilter. It focuses on treating the smelly air that's coming off of a lift station or off of a wastewater treatment plant treatment unit. You can see in the diagram on the left, it's basically just a column. You pull the odorous air through it. There's a biological active zone in the middle of it, and the treated air comes out of the top. These generally are higher initial costs than the chemical feed systems, but the chemical feed systems have greater annual costs because you have to keep buying chemicals. These are biological, so the annual costs are much lower. That photo in the lower right, I took myself at Destin Water Users. That's one of 3 of their biological air filters that they have. It's on a large regional lift station at the Sandpiper Cove condominium. I literally was like maybe 20 feet from a condo wall. It's a high public visibility lift station. It is one of their primary ones that serves Holiday Isle. There's also a little guard shack there just behind the vegetation that's manned 24 hours, and they would get calls all the time. But since they put that unit in, they virtually have gotten no calls. We're almost through. This is a, engineers in our graphs. This is a utility down in the Space Coast area of Florida, Brevard County. These are 2 regional lift stations that they have, and they're fitted with biofilters, and they monitor them every month for performance. The red line is the incoming hydrogen sulfide concentration. You see it's high. It's over 200 parts per million. Those are fairly comparable to 2 of our lift stations, and the yellow line is the exit values of the hydrogen sulfide coming out of the biological unit. The important takeaways from this are it's not a perfect system. No system is perfect. They have gotten 82 to 100% removal. It's not consistent. But again, when you're getting it down to 1 part per million, we can still smell it at a part per billion. So you're not going to ever eliminate the odor entirely, but they target getting it down to a level where it's not a nuisance. Plus, there's other compounds in wastewater that cause odor, but this is the majority of it. This last slide is a prioritization of our most complaint-generating facilities. There's a suggested odor control technology, for instance, at the wastewater treatment facility. A biofilter was the best balance of economy and result. It has a construction budget of $400,000. At the city manager's suggestion, I've added the annual recurring costs so you can get a better idea of how this is going to hit us every year on our budget. As you can see, those biofilter recommendations generally are lower. The bioxide chemical, for instance, on lift station 96, it had two that were very close together. Both the biofilter and the chemical feed system were fairly close on the balance of economics and result. But again, the key to that is having an already owned, city-owned site that's available for bulk deliveries of chemical that we can add upstream. If we have to procure a site, it tilts the economics in the favor of the biofilter. There's also an implementation schedule in days. That contemplates using a turnkey where we do a performance-based specification and an odor control product manufacturer comes in with his contractor and they have to meet the end result, the performance of odor removal out of that unit. So it's a much faster way to deliver the construction. With that, I'll open up to any questions you have. I told you I would be brief, so.
It's great. We appreciate the presentation. We've all heard about it. We've all smelt it. We've all dealt with it. We all see it. And it's something that, personally, I think we need to act if we can find the funding, because we have residents in some neighborhoods who, they can't go outside, they tell us. I mean, we see the emails, we get the calls. You drive down Back Beach Road, you go by the wastewater treatment facility, and we all know it. And it's not something that's gonna go away. And I think we'd be prudent to do something, but.
Very, very common problem around the world. We were in Ireland last year on a vacation in this real nice resort we pulled into with a tour bus. Got out and I had that same smell, and I said, it smells the same in Ireland as it smells. But anyhow, it is a good presentation, Mark, and it's very difficult to remove 100% of that hydrogen sulfide. I worked earlier on in my career at this plant and manned these lift stations and very familiar with it. And you can get 99.9% of it gone, and you get that 0.1, and you still have the same smell. And it's very dangerous work that these guys do, and the hydrosulfide is also very corrosive, and it's expensive to treat
It is.
effectively. And I agree with the mayor that that seems like a lot of money, but on the wastewater treatment facility being the same as the lift stations, I kind of question that may be a Band-Aid down there at the wastewater plant, and that's the biggest complaint that we have. You think that 400,000 to cover the whole plant there?
No, it focuses on two primary odor generating treatment processes at the plant. They're at the beginning of the plant where the sewage enters the wastewater treatment plant.
Right.
That is where it's at its greatest. It's not going to
Anyhow,
fix all the
I think
problems.
we need to budget whatever we need to do to fix this problem, and it's very difficult to fix, but do you have any guarantee from these vendors? Are they giving us any kind of guarantee that they're going to remove 100% of it, whether they do the chemical or the
Well,
bio?
none of them will guarantee 100%, none of them will. But in writing the performance specifications where they have to meet a certain minimum removal, you're certainly holding them accountable in terms of their contract.
I think.
There
we need
isn't
to move forward
100%
on it.
effectively
There's,
out there.
as Al says, there's no silver bullet. There's nothing that will eliminate it
But this is the best
100%.
bullets we haven't.
That's correct. And
Look at it. Okay.
I have two questions.
Sure.
If I could, if you could go back to your previous slide for me. Now, obviously, we know that the summer months are always the biggest challenge for.
They are.
That sort of thing, but what I'm looking at here, and correct me if I'm wrong, in my evaluation of the graph on the left, is that the system's being overwhelmed and not being able to keep up with that. Is that correct?
That is very astute of you. Yes, it is tailing up on that particular installation. It's well over, looks like 70 parts per million there.
So
In that
my
graph.
curiosity comes from doing this, and then in our summer months where we do generate the most complaints, are we gonna have similar issues with some of these systems where we're gonna start overwhelming the ability of it to do so, and after we've spent this amount of money, we still have the same issue during the summer months?
It's the loading criteria that you specify the thing to be designed to. There is a evaluation period in my schedule where the manufacturers can perform their own testing and develop their own loading criteria.
It worries me that we're not gonna be able to keep up with number one, and number two, if you could go back to the next slide. I'm sorry, go ahead.
One more?
No, the
Financial.
cost, yeah.
Oh, last one, sorry.
You said the wastewater treatment facility was only 2, so that you answered one question on this for me. Simply because I was surprised as the rest is that it would have a low cost. My other question to you is, we're looking to relocate this facility within how long? When is our timeline on that?
That's a,
Not relocate.
Not really.
It's not related.
it's a
to
second
building a new
facility,
one.
yeah, it'll be a second
Hold on,
facility.
we're gonna be doing the second facility, but the vast majority of our load, we're planning on putting over on that side, is that correct?
They'll be interconnected so they can share load between the two facilities. It gives you reliability, redundancy, and,
So will we be decreasing our reliance on that station?
yes.
And we will be decreasing the amount of sewage that we'll be pulling through that section?
Initially, yes, you
And
know,
decreasing the odor therefore at the same time?
yes.
So I question the priority on that one, to be frank, as to why it's first.
I don't. How many years away is that wastewater treatment
And
facility?
that's my other question. That was my other question.
We don't want to deal with
Do we
this for
have it
another
in our
10 years.
5-year plan?
It's
not gonna
just
be 10
starting to
years.
turn up on our, begin to cusp the horizon there on our 5-year plan. It's all a function of development. If the economy tanks and everything stops, you know, you don't want to invest and have that big expense there, and you're paying debt service on unless the timing of the need coincides with it. So that's a difficult one to call. It's a function of capacity utilization, using up what we have.
I know that Al had projected that to be within the next 4 to 5 years.
Yes, it's showing up now in our rate study. That expense is showing up on the horizon.
Now, have the complaints been overwhelmingly with the treatment facility versus the lift stations, or?
Yeah, I would say primarily it's mostly on the wastewater facility, and it's in the
Open
winter.
Sands is the largest.
It's in the winter when the wind is from the north.
That's from the treatment
Right.
facility, isn't it? And then, like, going back to your question about capacity for cleaning. So if go back to the slides.
Sure. I didn't realize there'd
So
be
if
this
our-
much interest.
No, too far.
I appreciate it. One more?
So if our normal capacity of untreated is at 400 parts per million, they can adjust that they're filtering to accommodate that capacity?
Yes, Al cautions me about getting too technical sometimes,
But-
but they have this thing called residence time. It's how long.
But they scale their filtration according to what our capacity of untreated.
Right, and you can also, there is an add-on carbon unit you can put on the tail end of it
Oh, a
too.
little kicker.
That gives you another level of odor removal as well.
Is that included in the cost for the,
That is not in those costs.
Upgrade.
right?
So if we're 5 years away from a new wastewater treatment facility, I don't think it's right for our residents to have to wait 5 more years. That's just my opinion. So I may not be the popular opinion amongst the members, but that's my opinion. I don't think that's.
Well, what's your recommendation on this? You think we should try to go ahead and fix this problem at the plant now, or should we wait till we build a new plant where you spread the load out and you lose a lot of that, or what do you think, Mark?
If you wait, you're still going to have the problem. It's still going to be noticeable. Plus, there's, I think it was Jeff McConnell pointed out, perhaps, who was Councilman Jarman, there is a corrosion issue that's occurred. No, you actually pointed out, there's a corrosion issue that occurs as well. With a biofilter, you're reducing the rate of corrosion in those structures, so you're paying another tax there that I really didn't mention.
That hydrogen sulfide is worse than salt water. I mean, as far
It
as
is- it
corrosion
is
goes,
tough.
horrible.
Yes, sir.
So that's why it's so expensive to build that structure to hold up to the corrosion on it.
And if we go ahead and do a filtration at the current plant at its capacity now, even though that will reduce when we add a plant, they're both going to continuously increase over time.
That's correct.
So we're going to need that capacity.
But I think you won't never fix this once and for all. You're gonna have to continually come back in 10 years or so and replace the biofilter because it's all
Or
corroded
annually.
down.
Sure, they have a service life, yes.
You're gonna, it's kind of like having a boat. You never get done with the maintenance on it.
So let me ask you this as well, for the funding aspect of it, is there anywhere within our rate study that we can adjust for the costs of these things?
There currently is an allocation for odor control in our budget. I don't, it's not the the top is not the 1.3, but there is an allowance in there. I don't know the exact number offhand. it's several $100,000.
I'd like to see that.
Okay.
Yeah, that'll be the next question, is how do we pay for it?
But on the other hand, there is a significant fund balance in the water utility.
Right.
I understand that, but we also don't want to have to go into debt for our next water treatment facility too. So I want to make sure that we have funding in our out years to be able to cover for all of that.
I'll get you an answer on that.
You're not looking for a vote today. This is just discussion, and in the budget process, I guess we'll.
Put it in the budget if we get a general consensus. We'll put it in the budget for your review and later.
I would like to see at the next meeting, if we can, how much money is also in that fund today, because if we don't have to wait until the next budget cycle, if there is money in that budget allocated right now, if it's even $400,000, there's several $100,000 there.
Yes,
There's no reason not to move forward with one of these. Let's move forward with priority one in my eyes. If that money's sitting there, it's prudent for us. That's what the money's for.
I'm okay with one. Yeah. I mean, I'd like to see the
That's what
money.
I'd say. But I'm just saying, if the money's sitting there for one, I don't want to wait until September, October to move forward on a problem that we've had for years.
I'll come back
We'll bring
with
that
that
to-
information. Or-
Great job, great presentation.
Thank you very much.
We didn't realize how you would spur us. It was your excitement coming up here, Mark. That's what it was.
I was,
At least you didn't bring the smell in with you.
normally
It was an
people aren't
option.
Well played.
normally they're not interested in what I do.
Moving on.
Mark.
Thank you, Mark.
Good presentation.
Moving on, item number 10, beach access garbage receptacles discussion. Is there any public comment? Yes, sir.
Larry Messenger, 129 Moonlight Bay Drive. I just wanted to express my support of this budget item. I believe that this would be a very good first step toward elevating our standards of cleanliness here in Panama City Beach. We advertise ourselves as the world's most beautiful beaches, but oftentimes the first impression that we present to our visitors and the lasting impression that a lot of us residents have is our city doesn't care enough. It should be caring more about preserving this valuable asset. Our main business here on Panama City Beach is selling our good looks, and I think that we need to do more, because I think we sometimes fall short of making that delivery. Paradise just has too much litter. I realize this is a very difficult year to be bringing forward measures that aren't in the budget. On the other hand, maybe it is a good year, because I just heard that business is good so far this summer, and maybe now is the time to be reinvesting some of that income in our future. We want these people to come back again. We want our residents to stay here and be happy and support our government. And I think one way of doing that is to present a cleaner environment for everyone to enjoy. I want to make one last statement. I don't mean in any way to express disrespect for the hard work that our current people in the field are doing to try to stay ahead of the game. I just believe that they are outgunned. They need more resources to help them. I've met a lot of them as I make my rounds around the city, trying to do my small part. And I know these folks have good hearts and are really trying, but they just need more help to get the job done. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Janice Hatcher, 205 South Wells Street. What the main problem is all of our rental homes turn over on Saturday, and trash pickup is not until Monday or Tuesday of the following week. So it's a schedule problem. When people are not following getting the trash out of the homes, our renters, you can tell them, but they won't do it. Then all of a sudden, the last day is there, it's Friday night or Saturday morning checkout, and they all clean out everything out of the house and overload the trash cans. We see that as we go up and down the beach. The problem is with the schedule of pickup, you can't make the people do anything different, but we could have another run along beachfront properties some way to have that trash picked up so that the people are checking in don't have to see it and our residents don't have to see it. It really is an eyesore, but it's a problem with scheduling of our trash trucks that is the problem. And if we could talk with them and ask them if we could reschedule or do something a little different where they pick up on Saturday morning, maybe trucks will go along Front Beach, we will eliminate a lot of that dirty look that our people have to face. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other public comment regarding this item? Seeing none, we'll close that section. Obviously, this is something I asked to look at. Trash is a major issue for us. I love Ms. Hatcher's idea. Mr. O'Rourke, I'd love to see us reach out to the trash haulers, the current haulers, just to see if there's a potential that they could do that. There's no reason not to ask the questions. Valid question. I do have a couple questions for Mr. Campbell. Obviously, trash is something that's handled from the city standpoint and from the Tourist Development Council. Do we know if we can get any support for this budgetary aspect from the Tourist Development Council?
Certainly. Ask for, once we get direction from council. Look into that, but I know they have 800 and some change receptacles out there currently. Are you talking about on Front Beach Road?
I'm talking about on the top of the beach accesses is where we were really looking to put them. That's why Mr. Campbell's in, because it's really a CRA. It's
Where
on
the
top of.
access meets the beach.
You want one
On top. I want,
at the
there's-
bottom. and-
Roadside.
Yeah,
Roadside.
roadside. I'm looking for roadside, because that's where we see so much of the trash. The trash is coming out
Yeah.
of the more, but roadside, we're seeing more and more trash. It's
How many times a day do you want to pick those up?
daily.
How many times?
Daily, just what, if we have a can, the problem is, we see it all the time. You go down to Pier Park right now, and that trash can that's on the pier, it's overflowing. People will use a trash receptacle if it's there. If it's not there, they throw it on the ground. I think, I've met with Larry a few times, and he sees it every day. He drives around, he literally picks up trash. If there's a trash can, people will use it. I see that in my own business. When there's a trash can, people will use it. They're not gonna sit there and throw something on the ground. They will throw it in a trash can if it's available. So I don't know if there's funding available there, or if there's a grant we can find available. If there's a mechanism for us to be able to find this funding, I think it's crucial. I agree with a lot of your statements. I don't think the beach is nearly as clean as it should be. And Greg, the team's doing a great job. They're, completely agree with you again, they're outmanned. There's only so much you can do
I
with
think
trash on the
it'll
ground.
be, logistically is going to be the issue in maintaining those cans and the cost.
I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, I like
Mayor,
it.
I walked, yesterday morning, I got up early and walked several of our beach accesses, and we've done a real good job on rebuilding a lot of them, but I noticed and some of them already have cans at the beach side down there, and people will move them, so.
Yep.
And I think the issue I have with it right now is timing. I think it's a great idea, and I think we got to do a better job, the cleanliness of it, because walking down those boardwalks, mostly ours, the county, but they took a bigger hit on the east end with Hurricane Michael. Some of their boardwalks still need attention, which the public doesn't know whether it's in the city or the county when they're,
Yes, sir.
but anyhow, I think it's a great idea, but I just think the timing issue right now, I think we were down 19% for the month of May because of the COVID issue, and I just think, and also I talked with Dan Rowe this morning, and the TDC is rebidding their trash hauler next year, and what I was thinking is maybe instead of having two haulers, us having one and them having one, that maybe when they rebid it, you could redo the specs on it where that, whoever got that bid would be responsible for keeping those walkways clean and emptying the cans.
The top side.
And
I
that
don't
goes in
disagree.
with the mayor's suggestion that possibly the TDC can
Well, and I think if you
jump
do-
in there.
I think-
And we could, you know, if we had to, help fund that, and they could split it out in their bid, you know, for the walkways. But the beach, it looked very clean when I went down there, but just the walkway down to it with the garbage in the front.
That's it.
And on each side in the dunes, and I think staff is overwhelmed with, and like Michael said, that you can clean it this morning, and tonight, if you get the wrong people hanging out down there, it looks like you didn't even clean it tomorrow morning.
That was my only, I'm all for putting them there. I just want to make sure that we have the system in place and the funding in place to maintain it to a level that it needs to be.
Yeah,
The nice part about what you're talking about there, hadn't thought about that, Councilman's a great idea, because if that is one provider, I know that provider right now has to wait for turtle time. They have to wait to be able to get out there to start their daily service. So they could actually start their service on the roadside early and make that early morning sweep and then just start on the beach side after that, which they have time is available. So there's an opportunity there. Again, it's something I want to bring up because I truly believe it's important. I believe that, just like you said, the beach side's clean, but the accesses and the top of the access points against the road are dirty. And I just feel like we need to do, somehow, we got to do a better job.
Well, it
Try and
also
keep that
begs
stuff.
another question. If the beaches are staying relatively clean, do we want both cans on the roadside?
What-
I'm just,
What do you mean?
well, you don't want that same type of can, I
Yeah.
don't think.
No.
I mean,
No,
just for curb appeal, going down Front Beach Road, you want a nice, like they have in front of Pier Park there.
Right.
They have some pretty nice cans there,
Well,
that Pier
yeah,
Park.
We want it to fit the CRA standard.
We have a
for sure.
CRA standard that we use. We place new ones at the Richard Jackson parking lot.
Yep.
We found that the weekends, because no one was working on the weekends, that our trash cans just overflowed. We found that if the, and the cans have a small hole, so folks aren't likely to put their household garbage there. But what it did create was a situation where
They just
you
set
couldn't
it
put a
next to it.
pizza box in there, so there were lots of pizza boxes laying around
So
the
They
trash.
just clean their car out down there.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
I have this. Go do it.
So I would like to get some clarification. All right, Ms. Hatcher, are you saying that the rental properties are using the trash cans that were put out on the beach? Is that what you're?
Certainly not.
Okay.
What I'm saying, Mr. McComb, is that the trash cans, the people who pick up trash do not pick up trash on Saturday morning.
I see.
And
So
as I said
separate
earlier,
issue then for your rental property, okay.
Yeah.
I'm just finishing this. I didn't say anything about, let me clarify.
Okay,
what I'm
yeah.
saying.
you're fine.
I'm saying that the people who are renting our homes, we ask them to bring the trash out on Thursday or Friday. If they don't, it's just the nature of people when they start to check out, they bring it out to the roads, to all the 8 or 10 trash cans we provide. But as I'm riding down the road, all up and down Front Beach, everybody's trash can is overflowing and it looks low class. That is an issue. It's probably not the one you're talking about with the CRAs, but this is an issue that we need to deal with. And if we ask our trash companies, this is a problem that we have, are you willing to make a second run on Saturday morning up and down Front Beach to empty the trash cans rather than on a Tuesday? They will make those provisions because they want to do business, offering that option. If they want to play the game,
Yep.
offer the option to follow our
right.
rules to make our city cleaner.
Thank you for
That-
clarifying.
That's per independent hauler.
Correct.
Right,
Yeah.
right, right.
Yeah.
Thank you for
That's a good
clarifying.
suggestion.
Thank you. So the CRA trash cans, are
Yes.
you're saying that it doesn't allow some larger items to go in there? About how big of an opening do you see? You said a pizza box wouldn't fit in there.
No, it'd be the size of you could probably put a basketball in the hole.
It's
It
about
would
12
just
inches,
fit.
isn't it? I think.
So what do you see? Do you see items that are the larger items like that, the pizza boxes and stuff being piled up around the
Yes.
outside of that? Is
Yes.
that
That's-
simply because it won't fit within there?
Right,
put
and
something
they
in
won't
there?
fold it up and put it,
Right.
You could. but
yeah,
don't.
it could fit.
Right, but they don't because the receptacle's small? Is
Yes,
that what I'm
yes.
hearing?
It's small and it has a cover, so water doesn't, when it rains, it keeps the trash relatively dry.
And you're looking at these same type of garbage cans? Is this what we're talking about throughout the entire side on the beach access, the north side?
Yes,
The
yes.
Same smaller ones?
Yes. And we can look at other items.
But that's generally what people are carrying down back and forth to the
Yeah,
beach. They're not
sure.
carrying pizza boxes usually onto the beach. They're carrying a drink or they're carrying sandwich wrappers
Just want
and
to make sure
trash.
if we're doing it and we're spending the money that, we have the availability to be
But
able
the-
to,
Hold all the
to
garbage.
hold the garbage.
Yeah.
And that was why I mentioned possibility of putting both cans on the roads. I mean, we'll have to evaluate on how fast they fill up. But
And you gotta make sure they clean up all that easement
Yep.
and around that can, because we had a contractor years ago that didn't spec it out, and he'd empty the can and leave trash all around it.
Correct.
Right.
So it could be all part of that bid,
Yep.
easily enough.
And we want to make sure that these are animal-proof as well. You don't want to,
That's why the small opening.
yeah.
If we're gonna spend this amount of money, we need to make sure that it's utilized and
Yes.
solves the problem.
Now, we bought we bought the cans for our parking lots and for the beach accesses that are at the parking lots. And we tested with just one. That didn't work. We had to add more cans right after, we put it in. So, and we will, the CRA will be budgeting for more trash cans.
Good.
Another thing we could do, David, is those corrals that the TDC uses on the garbage cans. They put them down on the beach side, but they get rugged down in front of a condo or something. You could attach those corrals to the end of the walkway where they're already, like Phil said, they're emptying 800 of them a day right now. So we kind of get the beach side covered, but
Yes,
the
sir.
big problem is walking down the walkway and the
top.
roadside.
Well, we retrofit the trash cans with a metal plate and a rod on the bottom.
Okay.
So they're not gonna move. They're not going
important.
anywhere.
Yeah.
It's important that they're actually at the location we want them at.
Yes.
But during like the 4th of July, I've actually seen these beach vendors, they'll take four-wheelers and they'll go down and gather up 8 or 10 of the cans and take them down behind their condominium, and they get the ones that are at the end of the access there. So if we attach the ones that are down there now and keep them from shifting them, and then and let the beach vendor empty those that they're doing now, I think we got the beach side covered pretty good.
Okay.
It's just
It's the
walkway
roadside.
and the sides of the walkway in the dunes. That's where all the litter and trash gathers, and that's where we're failing at, I believe.
Yeah, I agree.
And
Okay.
one other question, if I may. What budget is this coming out of? Is this out of the general fund or the CRA fund?
Well, the cans themselves would be the CRA.
The cans themselves, what about the contract to?
We haven't discussed that portion of it. Now, we obviously take care of the ones, the CRA takes care of the ones at parking lots,
So if we did this, we hadn't discussed where the CRA is gonna pay for it all up and down the whole 9 miles from Beach Road.
The cost that we see in here came from Parks and Rec. Talked about Parks and Rec doing the pickup.
But neither one of them, we haven't budgeted money for this expenditure in this year's budget.
That's correct.
Neither one of them.
We
That's
wanted to get your feedback. Clearly, the economy of scale would dictate that we meet with the TDC and piggyback off their existing contract.
Right.
That would make the most sense,
Right.
clearly. The second option would be a private hauler. The last option would be the city. We are going to be the most expensive alternative, because we can't justify just people picking up trash. They would do a lot more as far as maintenance and landscaping around those boardwalks, but if all we're focusing on is trash receptacles and removal, then our best option is a private contractor. And if we have an existing one on the beach, we should start there. So we'd be happy to sit down with the TDC and see if we can be included, the timing is perfect, in their bid as a separate option, so we can see exactly what that additional service will cost, and then we can come back to you and let you know that, see if you want to support that, and then go forward with the order of these cans.
Yeah, and the other thing I want to just kind of dig a little on is the maintenance of all of these things. Is that going to come under the CRA in your mindset right now? I know we're talking about going to the TC, but is that coming out of a CRA maintenance fund? Is that coming out of our general fund? Where do you see that coming from?
Physical cans?
Yeah,
Right,
I
for-
see the CRA maintaining those cans.
Maintaining.
It's in the
Yes.
district.
Yes.
So the maintenance and upkeep of all of those things and the emptying of all of those things, are they going to be a part of, are we going to have to touch our assessment, our CRA assessment that is meant for maintaining that area?
It could be a candidate to help
I mean,
pay for this.
That,
Yes.
Otherwise that's paid for out of
General,
our general fund?
yes,
All right, so we'd have to make that decision.
that's correct.
The assessment program authorizes the use of its proceeds for this purpose if you wanted to. You would not have to revise your assessment program to specifically include,
The money for it,
That-
just the funding side of it.
yes.
Great idea, though. We definitely need to work on it.
I just want to make sure we get our funding levels right and we put out something there that works.
So we'll talk to Dan and bring you back more information, and then have something in the budget for you to consider.
I appreciate it. Thank you, guys. Thank you very much. I
Yes.
appreciate it. Moving on. Item number 11 today is a Parks and Rec amenity upgrade. Is there anyone who would like to speak on item number 11 today? Great.
Well, as far as basketball facilities, clearly a great need, but we may have an opportunity through the FEMA process to create a community shelter, which also would serve as a basketball facility. Hopefully, we'll get that information in early fall. So we'll keep you posted on that, but that could be a real win-win opportunity. That's over a $3 million facility. FEMA would pay the vast majority of that, so that'd be great. As far as the skateboard park, I know Jim has an estimate in there. I did talk to the county yesterday. They're building a facility at the county sportsplex. It's going to be between 16,000 and 20,000 square feet, which is a good-sized skateboard park, more consistent with a true skateboard park. And it's price range between $850,000 and $1 million. So ours clearly on the lower end on both size and cost. It is a question in the citizen survey, so I don't know if you want to wait to get a response from that, but I would probably caution you to say that if you're going to build one that's going to meet not only current but future needs. Go big versus small, because it's not a phase. The sport of skateboarding has grown tremendously. Talk to Tony Hawk about how well he's doing, and Sean White. It is a great alternative to traditional sports, and it is well accepted in almost every community in America has a facility.
Do you know if the county's going to charge to use that facility?
Not to my knowledge, I can find out.
They're not.
Yeah.
And also Panama City's building
Yeah,
skate
yeah,
park
yeah,
also,
yeah,
off
yeah.
of,
Yeah, there's a huge demand. I mean,
And I'll be honest,
kids
I've
and
talked
adults.
to some of
Yeah.
the people in the industry that enjoy skateboarding, and as far as Frank Brown is concerned, they are just wanting something small, more of a beginner's park, because the county's already building a fairly sophisticated skate park.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, my only concern would be, it needs to be close. If something's not close, you don't use it. So unless a kid can walk there, ride their bike over there, that's quite a trip to the county facility. Someone has to drive. And a lot of these kids clearly are not in the age range where they're driving. There's some that will be, but a significant percent would not have licenses. So how are they going to get access to that? I mean, moms and dads are already hauling them to other related activities. It's just one more, but I would just caution you, if we're going to do it, we're going to do it for the kids that live here, and bigger is better than small.
I agree.
Because there's a huge demand for these things.
I agree completely. I don't think we can rest our laurels on expecting our youth to go down to the county park.
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah.
I know others may feel that way. I don't. I feel like we should have our own, just like Panama City has their own, just like the county has their own there. But
Yeah.
I don't see kids from all over the beach going all the way down to the county. I don't think that's a fair assessment. I don't think that's.
And that's
I
such
think
a
that's actual.
centrally located facility, Frank Brown Park. It's a great location, accessible from almost every part of the city, especially with Gales Trails. Kids can get there safely, conveniently, and I'm sure parents get tired of hauling them around. So it's an opportunity like back in the day where you can just send your kids out there and they're involved with a very safe and good activity.
Yep, close enough. So there can be
Another great idea to get our kids out of the bedroom and out doing things. And I've always thought we needed one at Frank Brown, but I think it's another timing issue that with the 19% gross sales being down for the month of May, and we don't know what the rest of the year is going to look like. But we've got grants in the past for some of our projects over there. That may be something we could look
Possibly,
at.
yeah. We'll
Tom,
certainly look at that and
see if we could.
then see what the response is by the public on the citizen survey. See how high up on the list they want to put something like that.
I think it's a great discussion. I'm excited about the potential for the basketball courts. Obviously, youth sports and getting kids out and doing things is important. I'm a firm believer, you know me well enough, that's getting kids activity is great. So hopefully the basketball court comes through. I see that those courts are full every night. If you go to Frank Brown Park at night, those courts are full day, night, all the time. And it's great. It's great to see. That's why I want to see an expansion there. So. Any other discussion? Great. Thank you. Moving on. Item C today is the city manager report.
A number of things. I'll try to be succinct, like Mark.
On strategic plan, we had a great session last Thursday, which was culmination of what I would call phase one. We got 10 focus groups, both from the community and our employees, to give us input about our strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats as a community and organization. We helped solicit input into what our vision, our values, our strategic priorities should be. The council validated that in that exercise last Thursday. So phase one is concluded, kind of the data development. Phase one is concluded. Phase two will be the drafting of the plan. I'll be principally involved with that and bring something back for council's review and also the community focus groups review so we can get their input on the draft itself and then hopefully have a final product for the council's consideration in early August. So we'll keep you apprised of that progress. Beach safety, started that discussion and that was a positive step forward to soliciting a partnership with our beach properties, whether it be hotels, motels, condominiums, clearly needed, and hopefully we're going to get some results from that. And I know the chief will work hard to solicit and develop those partnerships. But if the mission of the city is to reduce drownings, which we clearly have too many of based upon the last several years, we need to continue to do proactive education, intervention, and enforcement. And to that end, kind of going to list out here 8 initiatives we'd like to take part in. First, we need to expand the public education. Clearly, people arrive here excited about an opportunity to be on the beaches. They've worked hard for this vacation. They may be very naive and uneducated about rip currents. Most people are. If we had sharks out there, it wouldn't be a problem. People would not get in the water. I've been to Australia and Cape Town, South Africa. No one gets in the water because of the great whites. That rip current is unseen, covert. It's a mystery to most people. So just because they get in the water doesn't mean they're stupid. They're simply naive. They don't understand the vicious nature of rip currents and how deadly they can be. So we have to do a much better job educating people over and over and over again. So I've told the staff on numerous occasions anytime we communicate, once is not enough, twice is not enough. The typical advertiser will tell you it takes 7 times to reach someone before it clicks. That's why we get bombarded with radio commercials and online commercials and television commercials. Not that they want to spend that much money, because that's how many times it takes to finally get the message home. So we need to recognize that. And just putting a pamphlet on a wall in a condo or hotel is not covering ourselves as far as education. We just need to do a lot better job. So to that end, working with Debbie and other folks like at the TDC, warn people about rip currents, the meaning of the flag system, particularly the double reds, through PSAs, through written material, social media, rack card signage. We just got to continue to bombard people constantly on that message. Second, install better signage at beach locations so that people, whether they're dining or at a condo or hotel, they constantly see that information. It's just constantly being put in their face, and that will help us. And then we'll have code enforcement make sure that signage is up and present and visible. That's important. One of our biggest deficiencies is lack of surveillance because of the few city resources we can employ. That's why we need more partners in this process. But to that end, we should be working with our condos and our hotels, what I would call beach spotters. You go to South Africa and Cape Town, they pay people to literally sit up on the hills and watch the beaches for great whites. And they call in their surveillance. We need to do the same thing here. There's people with their eyeballs on the beach all day long. We need a system in place as to who they can contact if they see people naively getting into the water, especially in a double red. Doesn't have to be every day, but certainly under a double red. Here's the process. We appreciate you providing surveillance for us. Clearly, we can look at the pier situation. The downside to that is the chief representative. We have so few personal resources, it's hard to deploy someone just sitting out on a pier looking at 9 miles of beach. But we have hundreds of people in condos and hotels that are looking out there all the time for free. We just need a system in place where they know who to contact if they see people repeatedly getting in the water or look like they may be in distress. That will be invaluable to us, and that is a well-tried and proven tactic in other parts of the world. the public will support that if they know what their role is, what their responsibilities are, and who to contact. So we need to develop that. Also, talking to the Panhandle helicopter people, they fly down that beach every 5 minutes. You know, they're a tremendous source of surveillance for us. I was chatting with them last week. Want to follow back up and see if we can pay for a public address system where, just like the sheriff's department does a good job, but they're more limited in their availability, that tourist helicopters on that beach almost every single day. They can warn people, hey, red flag, please get out of the water. Or worse yet, if someone's ignoring that, they can call us and let us know, hey, at this location, I see someone in distress, they're in the water. That's a tremendous set of eyes out there from above. So that will be a plus for us. As we've talked about, we have a scarcity of personal resources. We have 8 lifeguards typically in the summer, complemented by 4 off-duty firefighters who are beach safety certified. That's clearly inadequate. When the national worldwide standard is 1 lifeguard pretty much for every quarter of a mile, divide 12 by 9 miles. Math doesn't work. It's about 1 per 3/4 of a mile. Try to respond to someone 3/4 of a mile away. We would not stand for that if someone was having a heart attack. That's why the fire EMS service is geared up to respond within minutes to a heart attack, because we all know now that every minute makes a difference between survival and death. Same is true in water safety, so there needs to be a much greater presence of people who can physically respond to a situation. So to that end, we want to work with the hotels and the motels with the proposal you just talked about today. We've got to have people step up. Certainly we'll try, but if you know anyone who has a business along the beach, they need to help us help these guests return home safely. We cannot do it just as a city. We have a much bigger responsibility to this large visitor population. As the mayor indicated, people are making a lot of money, which is great, off tourists. Let's reinvest some of that, a small percentage of that, into their safety and a good outcome for everyone. That's just imperative. So we want to supplement them with code enforcement. I'll talk a little bit more about that, but also we're developing a junior lifeguard program. Jacksonville Beach is a fantastic example of a community. They only have 4 miles of beach. They've had essentially what they call their volunteer life safety corps. It consists between 60 and 90 kids on an average year. They've been in existence since 1912. They've recorded over 1,200 rescues in that time. They take pride, just like if you go to Australia and South Africa, they take pride in the record of beach safety and the rescues, and it becomes almost a competition among clubs. We should be able to develop that kind of legacy here. We got a great beach, a lot of great kids. Let's put them in a position where they can do more than just what they're currently doing, whether it's being at home with a computer. Step up and get trained and make a difference in people's safety. That would be a huge compliment to us. Clearly, we need to acquire more ATVs. I'd like to see a jet ski deployed on certain days, especially red flag days, so they can patrol the waters. If people get out there, they're much more responsive to those needs. Clearly, we need more lifeguard towers, and if we reach a point where we can put a tower on a pier, that'd be fantastic. I think just right now in the order of things, that's probably more than we can handle given everything else. We should definitely apply for federal and state grants. We'll talk a little bit more about how we might be able to do that. And focus our scarce resources. I mean, we're not going to suddenly go from 12 people right now that can survey and rescue people on the beach to 50 overnight, but as we can build that capacity, we need to focus on the hot spots. Where are historically the most significant rip currents, the most dangerous situations from a rescue standpoint? We know what they are, and that's where we'll deploy our resources, and we can expand upon that as we get more resources. And then the double red flag conditions. Clearly, we had 5 drownings under double red flag conditions over the last couple of weeks. We need not just only enforce and ask the police, because they're already stretched like a rubber band, doing so many other things, whether it's code enforcement with 200 restaurants and bars and the general traffic issues and altercations that occur when you have tens of thousands of people, that we employ our 3 code enforcement officers on red flag days, that their job will be to be on the beach and largely educate initially, but then also issue citations. To that end, we'll bring you a proposal at your next meeting where you will authorize our code enforcement people to be able to issue civil fines. And again, I agree with Councilman Castro. We're not going to enforce a way out of this, but we will have to issue some fines to get the message across that we're serious, especially when people repeatedly ignore the advice of these individuals and they continue to get in the water. They need to be fined. They need to be made a subject so that people are aware that this is not fun and games. This is serious. You're putting not only yourself at risk, you're putting first responders at risk. I mean, Paul has been a lifeguard. It is a very traumatic and difficult operation to save someone. And unfortunately, some people die in that process, besides the initial party. So we need to prevent that. So we'll bring that back to you on July the 8th. But we're ready to better educate, recruit people for surveillance, stand up a better presence, and continue to hopefully work with our private sector to have them produce some resources so we can all create a safer environment for our guests and our locals. But predominantly our guests, they're the ones most often subject to these drownings. Any questions on that?
Mayor, I'm a little concerned about double red flag, having wave runners or jet skis, whatever you want to call them, out patrolling. To have them ready, available to run out for our first responders might be a different option. But to have our code enforcement or whoever out patrolling back and forth, might be a little dangerous for them out there to be, that's just me. I don't want to be putting their lives in danger.
Well, his life's going to be in danger, but there are certain conditions. For example, the night that 13-year-old girl drowned, that water was relatively flat. That was a great environment for having a jet ski out there. It was not choppy. There weren't big waves, which had occurred several days earlier. That was obvious, but it was flat. But again, the rip current is a silent.
It doesn't have to be rough out there to have a rip current.
Yeah, I know.
We all know that.
And that's what's deceptive to the public. It looks calm and inviting, and that's when they get in the water and they get in trouble. Those are perfect situations for jet skis and having more of a physical presence in the water. Now, clearly, when it's too rough and too wavy, most people see that and they stay away. That's why Hawaii doesn't have nearly the drowning record that we have here, because those waves break right on shore. You know you're stupid to get mixed up with that, especially on the North Shore. Here, it's much more deceptive. It's more like this lake, and you don't understand that below that water is a vicious enemy. It's called the rip current. That's what makes this situation so perilous. And we got to just educate, but also be prepared to survey and save people, but also, if necessary, and we will do a lot more of it, is enforce and cite people for violating our standards. But we'll work on that. Some good news. Thanks to Holly and Al Turney's, we got a recent upgrade from Fitch Rating Service on our city's 14 million utility revenue bonds from 2012. Most people ignore this, but I keep track of this type of stuff because rating upgrades represent lower interest costs and lower debt service. That means significant long-term savings to the public. So though this work goes usually unnoticed, it is very important. A lot of work goes into these upgrades, so we're very fortunate of that outcome, and hopefully we'll have continued success like that in the future. The city clerk interview schedule is set for July the 9th. We have a really good field of candidates, so they will be here on the 9th and to be interviewed, and hopefully, to Joe's relief, we'll have a city clerk by the beginning of August. If she can break the chain and ball we put on her. She's more thrilled than anyone. I talked about state and federal grants, and we talked about trash cans, we talked about beach safety. There's so many other things, whether it be transportation, recreational facilities, police resources like body cameras we'll be talking about later. There's tremendous opportunities out there, but we have to do a better job fighting for our fair share, both in Tallahassee and Washington, D.C. And you're at a disadvantage because most entities will have lobbyists fighting on their behalf and coordinating meetings with not just legislative bodies, but equally, if not more importantly, with the executive bodies. That's where the money is. Coming from a bureaucrat, I can tell you, that's where the money is. You know, legislators appropriate, the bureaucrats distribute. And so you have to understand that process. You have to know the parties, because these bureaucrats are not there for 2 to 4 years. They're there for 30. You recognize some employees today. They're there for 30, 35 years. They're running the roost. And so those are the people you really got to get to know. They will make a significant difference in whether we get grants or not. So we're suggesting, and we can prepare for you, a request for proposal to have the city represented in both Tallahassee and Washington with lobbyists so we can get our fair share of resources. Because given the city does not have an ad valorem tax, all the more reason we have to leverage state and federal resources to get money back to this community that our community is paid for, but probably not getting an equitable return on their taxes. And then finally, to leverage our scarce personal resources, we've talked to the mayor, is we'd love to stand up a volunteer program. We have some great ideas to, again, just like your citizen advisory groups, there's a lot of talented people here that would love to give of their time, but we need structure and substance and training and good opportunities for them. Otherwise, you'll not keep them for very long. So just like any job, if you have the right position and the right training and the right support, and you constantly recognize and reward, because these people are not being paid, they need to be stroked. They're providing a valuable service to the city, whether it's in parks or what I call code rangers and code enforcement or receptionists to the city. There's umpteen different opportunities in addition to internships for students who can get an insight into government, and hopefully those are your political leaders of the future. They need an opportunity to understand how government works by working behind the scenes, and so we'd like to talk to you more about that in the future, and at virtually no cost, we can stand up a really sound, robust volunteer program to solicit and get community engagement, involvement, and provide valuable service to the city at no cost.
Great. Anything else?
Isn't it?
City Attorney's report.
I have no report.
Perfect. Always good. Councilman Casta.
Nothing further, Mayor. I'm kind of hungry.
I second that.
I'm good.
Councilman Jarman.
No, good discussion today. Look forward to working on this stuff some more.
Well, I guess I'm going to be the only one with comments. City manager kind of stole my thunder on the Moody evaluation for the bond. Thank you, city attorneys and Holly and Al in your department and Mark. That has the potential to save a lot of money, but what it really speaks to is that your processes and your controls that are put in place were top-notch. Reading that bond letter, you were eligible for a AAA rating, which was fantastic. However, the only thing that kept us from that was our over-reliance on a 1% merchant fee. So the funding side was something that was kind of an issue for them. So I appreciate that. That's something that's out of your control. Otherwise, you would have had the top bonding rating. So thank you for that work. Speaking of finance, you know, in the first 2 years, I've been fiscally conservative. You guys know that. I want to make sure that we're responsible. Holly knows a lot of the conversations that we've had is maintaining a healthy amount of reserve in times of trouble. We've kind of gone through and are going through two different things. We had the hurricane, and now we're in COVID. We see some of our 1% merchant sales going down. They may or may not recover. In the future, we have no indication, especially with the surge, where we're going to be over July, August, and September. That concerns me. We are also low on our reserves. We're below our 25%, and that's from the hurricane. So to me, you're going to see, even though I see a lot of fantastic ideas and I see a lot of initiatives that are amazing and I agree with wholeheartedly, I'm going to be more of a fiscal hawk because I'm very nervous about the city's finances right now. So I would like to see from staff, when they do bring initiatives, I would like to see the funding line and the side of that to see, you know, how you're proposing that gets spent. You know, yes, I want to see the idea, but I also want to see where you're getting that funding line from. And other than that, the census, please, 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 I beg of you, fill out the census and help out your community. Thank you.
Great. I too would like to thank the city manager for stealing my thunder on a city internship program. It's been something that we've discussed, and something I'm really excited about the opportunity for. There's a lot of college folks out there, potential college credit for them. I definitely want to see rolling something out in that, so I appreciate that. I want to let the community and everyone know that we definitely feel your voice and we hear your voice on the transportation issue. I want to thank Kelly and her staff immensely. They've been working with FDOT to try to find some, if nothing else, some temporary solutions to some of our traffic situations, whether it's write-outs on some of these streets that are secondary streets or things of that nature, streets that are not cut-through streets. Definitely listening to the residents and some of that. So they're a great partner at FDOT, and I want to thank Kelly and those guys for really working on a program to try to find us some solutions on some of the traffic burdens we have. I'd like to thank everyone who donated their time, energy, and expertise to the concerns for the strategic plan process. Obviously, that's something that was very important to me, my number one campaign thing, and glad to see that get off the ground running and fully putting that SWAT together. The workshop we had last week was great. I look forward to seeing what comes back after that. One thing I definitely would like to remind folks is 4th of July is a great celebration, but it's also a time for the city's fireworks. Please be responsible. Don't light fireworks on the beach if you don't have a permit. It's very important. We want to make sure that we're keeping our beaches safe and clean. We talk about the cleanliness of our beach. The last thing we want is more fireworks going off on the beach than are permitted for, by all means. Again, congratulations, Holly, Al, legal team. Great job. We appreciate it. It's a huge asset to the city. We thank you folks tremendously. Congratulations to Councilman Jarman for being the chair of the new committee that came out today. So we appreciate, I know I'm excited about that. So I really appreciate you stepping up for that. Last thing I have is I'd like staff to look at a possible program to coordinate with Elevate Bay. That's the mentorship program that the county school district uses. I'd love to see the city staff come back with a potential for any city employee who wants to donate a day, 2 days a month to be able to do that, or for a couple hours. I'm talking maybe an hour a month, 2 hours a month. Sure. If they want to go and help and work with Elevate Bay and help lead the internship program, be part of that for that mentoring side for students. We can't have enough adult positive impact for our youth in our community. Mm-hmm. And I'd like to see some sort of program brought forth that ties to that Elevate Bay, that gives people the ability, any employee who works for the city, the ability to go to the school system for an hour or two a month and not come out of their time off. You know, the city has the opportunity to do good things for that.
Sure.
And I'd really like to see the city be more involved in our school system. That is the future of our beach and the future of our community. So I'd like to see something back on that as well.
That's very rewarding. I've been to several of them.
It's a great thing, and I think it's a great opportunity, and it's a great opportunity for our employees to get involved with whether they have children in the school district or not, doesn't matter. Anybody can help, and anybody's good role model will help from talking to those folks. Nothing else from me. Meeting adjourned.